I think that's the biggest thing that people end up discovering on this journey is, who am I? What value do I want to bring to the world, and how do I want to package that in a way that represents me? Because if you are anybody but you up on that stage, it'll be less than a positive experience for you. It'll be empty. And so that's where the power comes from, is discovering your true voice, being able to step beyond the fear by owning that message, and get some other people around you to support you on the journey as well.
Let's talk tales. Do you have a story to tell but unsure how to share it on stage? Today's Tales with Taylor guest has a transformative speaker development experience that turns everyday people into extraordinary speakers and influential leaders. She has also founded an award-winning nonprofit dedicated to empowering historically silenced individuals to share their stories and drive meaningful change. Passionate about the power of voice, today's guest believes that when people are heard, communities are healed, awareness grows, and impact follows. It's the founder of DEBx and Amplify Voices, Deb Shapiro. How are you doing today?
Good. I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Yes.
So tell me the tale of little Deb. Did you just grow up, making a stage everywhere you went to, speak and empower other people to speak?
Yeah, actually, it's really funny because if I look back, and I just did this recently, if I look back at my life, all of who I was growing up really has culminated into what has been created today. And so, yes, I was on lots of stages when I was younger. My first stage, I was 7, just for fun, community theater. I loved it and continued to do it through college and kind of passed on that after that. But I ultimately would sit at night. It would be 3:00 in the morning when I would wake up and everybody else is asleep. And that was my special time. That's when I would line up all my stuffed animals and sit on my bed and I would present to my stuffed animals. So I knew at some point in time in my life, there had to be something for me when it came to the stage and presenting. I happen to be more behind the scenes these days, but there's definitely a collection of what I've done in the past to bring me to where I am today.
Well, yes. Well, you got to be able to, speak yourself in order to teach others to speak. So I think that's kind of important.
Yep.
And so with DEBx, you're helping people, really find their voice and have such an amazing experience to speak on not just any stage, but like a theater style stage. Yeah. Do you feel that there's a story in everyone and that anyone could learn how to speak on a stage?
Yeah, I feel as though every single person has gone through something in their life, some challenge, even some success, where they've learned really powerful lessons on their own journey that's made a huge difference for them. And in DEBx, what we do is we help people to put that together so that they can give it away to make a difference for others. Because there is something about knowing that I've learned something that can make a difference for another human being. There's something powerful in that. And so I believe everybody has something. You have to just stop, pay attention, and ask yourself the question, if I had 8 minutes to change the world, what would I say? And, it's interesting what people will come up with after that.
Yeah, that's, 8 minutes does not feel like a long time, but it actually is a decent amount of time to share a quality message. And so I have to ask you, what is your 8-minute message?
It's so funny because people have asked me over the years, and I don't personally have a specific 8-minute message that I have created for me, which would be my signature message per se. But ultimately, I feel as though miracles can happen would be my signature message, in that if you can see what it is that you want to be able to achieve, and you believe that you can actually get there and you start taking those steps, you can absolutely produce that. And so, yeah, I would say that that's what we got.
Excellent. What do you think it is that hesitates people from sharing their stories?
Oh, fear. People are, It's not just the fear of public speaking.
Mhm.
Now, we all know that. We've heard this before. And incidentally, I've actually tried to research it to find if public speaking is the number one fear over death. We
Right.
hear
I still
this
cannot believe that.
all the
personally.
time. Now,
Like,
and
you're
I don't know
literally
if
always live.
That's right. Well, I don't know that it's been actually validated, but the fact that when I say it or others say it, nobody argues with it, it lends me to believe that there is some credibility to it. So there's really the fear of public speaking, but I think the fear that exists for people is being seen.
Mm-hmm.
And being seen in a way unfavorable to others. And so by actually getting clear on who you are, what your message is, and what you want to be able to say, there's a drive that pushes you beyond that fear that has you go, I have something to say.
Yeah.
And I can say it in a way that can make a difference for others. And when you can get to that point, yes, the fear may still be there. However, you're willing to push beyond that because you know that what you've got can make a difference for other people. And I think that most people just want to be able to contribute to others.
Right. So it's almost like a mindset, shift, because they say like the easiest way to fail is to try to please all.
Yes.
At the end of the day, you're not going to connect with everyone and please all, but you should really more so focus on the few that are going to resonate with that message and are going to be able to learn from it and, ignore the others, ignore the haters. Right?
Yes. Yes. Well, and then find you.
Mm-hmm.
Find who you are, because there's so many wonderful speakers out there, and people tend to look and go, I want to be that person, or I want to be like that person, or I want to be like that person. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with saying, oh, I want to emulate certain things, and it's attractive to me.
The qualities from it.
That's wonderful. Yes. But ultimately, you need to find your style. There's people who have gone through the programs that we've done who are very quiet. Mm-hmm. And I don't want them to all of a sudden be this wild, crazy person on the stage.
Yes.
I want them to cultivate their voice in such a way that's going to make a difference for them and for their audiences. So finding your authentic voice also helps you to combat that fear, because then this is really me. This is my voice. This is what I want to be able to share with the world.
This reminds me of a conversation I had on another episode with Carrie Ann Munstead. She does photography. And we had a conversation of like, should everyone go super glam with makeup? Because and again, similar to the style of speaking, if you're, she mentioned me. She's like, if I was doing a photo shoot with you, I wouldn't expect to see you with a ton of makeup. I've never seen you with makeup on, so that wouldn't, be authentic. So similar to that, just because there are speakers who are loud and verbose, doesn't mean that's your style, and that's okay.
Yes.
I think we need to be okay with just how we are.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing that people end up discovering on this journey is, who am I? Mm-hmm. What value do I want to bring to the world? And how do I want to package that in a way that represents me? Mm-hmm. Because if you are anybody but you up on that stage, it'll be less than a positive experience for you. It'll be empty. And so that's where the power comes from, is discovering your true voice, being able to step beyond the fear by owning that message, and get some other people around you to support you on the journey as well, because that fear can take us out. And so if I feel as though there's something that I want to do, I make sure to let the entire world know about it, to hold me accountable, because sometimes I don't hold myself to account for the things that I say that I want to do. So community is also really important to get beyond that fear.
Excellent. You say that it's a journey, and for the DEBx program, are you just like a mama bird pushing people out onto the stage and they just have to go, or what is the structure of this program?
Sometimes it feels like that, but no, it's actually very carefully planned for people to walk through. And so it's a 90-day experience. Okay. So when they first come in, it can be for people who have done some speaking before. And they want to hone in on what exactly is that message that I want, and tune in on those skills. But primarily, who's attracted to this are people who know they have some kind of a message inside of them that they want to be able to share, but they haven't figured out what exactly that is.
Okay, so you don't even have to have the whole speech planned before starting the program. Okay.
No, as a matter of fact, that would be counterproductive to the process. So you come in with a clean slate, and you start to look at, Who am I? What are the things that I am actually now putting out into the world that calls to my heart? What are the problems that are out in the world that are bothering me that I want to be able to put an end to, that I might have something to say about that? And so we go on this discovery journey. And there's this saying that you may have heard before: what you focus on expands.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we start to focus on what is this about me? What is it about my journey that I want to give away to others? All of a sudden you start to notice what you need to notice.
Yeah.
And so people start to recognize the stories from their own lives, recognize the stories from other people's lives. Statistics or case studies start to surface for them and going, hey, that would be really great for me to be able to prove the points that I have. And so we do this in a very safe environment because, again, fear is a big underlying piece for people. And so we create a very safe environment where you can share whatever you need to be able to share. And that a lot of it gets left on the cutting room floor, but at the end of it, you can pick the pieces up that you want and move it forward.
It's just like editing. We always overshoot,
yes.
Get more footage than you need to. You make your first draft. More than likely, that first edit is not the final edit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So it is, as you know,
Yes.
it's a process.
Yep.
And so they're collecting, we call it going shopping for our pearls of wisdom. It's the things that are going to support the theories that we have about the message that we want to put out there. And together, we pull that together. Feedback from the other speakers is absolutely critical on the journey. So if you're a speaker, you're out there and you want to be able to improve just upon what it is you're doing, find a collection of people and deliver your talk to them and get honest feedback from them.
That was going to be my next question is, what is the feedback like? What is the group support like? And are you able to get, concrete feedback on, on your game tape and how to improve?
Yes. And that feedback is so critical because without that, our job as speakers is to ultimately create different results in the world. That's what we want to be able to do. But to create different results, what do we need to do? We need to take different actions, right? Different actions will produce different results. That's very logical. But how do we actually produce the different actions that are going to produce the different results? Yeah. It's actually the view that we have. We need to change the view that the audience walks in with. They're walking in with one view. Yeah. And it's your job as a speaker to have them see things from a different perspective so that they can actually take different actions. And so the feedback that we're getting is critical because if we're trying to change somebody's perspective, we need to know what their perspective is in the first place. We need to know what are their, what we call buts or objections that people may have to what it is that we're putting out there. So that feedback helps us to know, are we on track for actually creating and changing the hearts and minds of the people that we want to influence? And also just watching the other speakers as they deliver their talks, you look at that and go, I love that. I could do something like that in my talk, or that didn't land very well. So seeing specific examples of other speakers as they're going through their own struggle is incredibly helpful for us on our own journey. So get out there and find your people that you can surround yourself with to get that feedback, to get that important reflection.
And that honest feedback, because that's the thing. It's so important. You don't want to surround yourself around, yes men and women that are just going to say what they think you want to hear, because then you'll never actually fully grow. Yeah.
You find those yes men and women when you need a little pick-me-up.
Yeah.
You go to those people when you really need some critical feedback
ego
to
stroking,
move. Yeah, they serve a purpose. But in the case of helping you to really move your voice forward, you really do want to have those honest and open conversations with people.
Yeah, and you definitely have a passion for wanting to move people's voices forward because that's what compelled you to create a nonprofit. So tell me more about the tale behind Amplify Voices, the decision-making on the name and the color schemes. I'm always so curious on the branding side of it. So tell me more about Amplify Voices and how it all got started.
Let's see. Okay, so Amplify, we were talking about DEBx before, which is that 90-day speaker training experience. And one of the things that we ended up noticing, which was actually a surprise when we first started out, was that every single one of the speakers, when they got to the other side of the stage, had this profound transformation in their own confidence, in their own authenticity, and their own power to be able to speak. And it was really quite stunning to see. We just wanted to give them the tools to be able to be powerful in their speaking, but it really ended up translating through all different areas of their lives. And so this was amazing to see. And it was great to see because when the pandemic hit, we kind of had to shut things down. We weren't doing anything in the theaters at the time. And I got to have a conversation with a friend of mine who was retiring. She was retiring from the airlines and wanted to figure out what was the next chapter of her life. And so she said she wanted to work with young girls and women because the suicide rate was going out of control. And I happen to know a little bit about her background. When she was 13, she was abducted and trafficked as a young girl. And when I said, what if I were to teach you how to write a talk? You never have to, of course, share it on a stage. But what if you have that in your back pocket so that if you meet someone that your story could make a difference, your tale, right, could make a difference with, that you've got that there. And her reaction was actually pretty shocking for me because she's a badass. Can I say that?
You're allowed to say whatever you want. This is your
she's
show.
A badass. She's an amazing badass and it was very successful. Yet when I asked her about sharing her own story, she throws her hands up and said, I can't talk about that. And for me, this was devastating because here I am working with all these other people, helping them to tell their stories. Yet here's a good friend of mine who couldn't tell a story about something that happened to her over 50 years ago.
Yeah, perhaps it was like a secondary trauma, though, to try to bring it back up.
To bring it back up, yeah. Because, it's like, I want to leave it over there. We need to sweep it under the carpet and not talk about it again.
Silence is a killer.
But that's what I did not realize this until after we stepped forward. But when I listened to her and share her story, I thought, wow, we have this other tool over here called DEBx that seems to have this powerful effect on the speakers going through the program. What if we were to give this tool to women impacted by sex trafficking and sexual assault? And by a whole host of serendipity, we ended up having 7 women from around the country show up on my doorstep, basically, who were ready to have their voices be heard. And the Scottsdale Center for the Performing Arts donated their theater. And it was March 21st, 2021, our first 7 women shared their triumph over trafficking on the stage at the Scottsdale Center for the Performing Arts. And it just created this incredible ripple effect. Women who were sitting in the audience and saw these talks were saying to themselves, I can do that. I have a message I want to be able to share. And women started coming up to us and asking us, how can they be involved? And so we ended up creating all sorts of programs that were truncated because, as you can imagine, the stage events are very resource rich. So we created something that we could do in 6 weeks online so that people could do this anywhere in the country. And so anywhere in the world, actually, we've had people from Canada and other countries join us as well. So we are basically our nonprofit was founded back in September of 2020 to work with those individuals who've historically been silenced to help them tell their stories and use those stories to change hearts, minds, beliefs about that particular topic so that they can raise funds, raise awareness, whatever they need to do for their causes. And we've been blessed to have worked with a variety of different groups under Amplify Voices. We've worked with the formerly incarcerated, women who've been touched by breast cancer. And in 2025, we're going to be launching what we consider our newest voice, which is mental wellness.
Okay.
That is a theme that has been through all of the other voices that we've had an opportunity to work with. And we really want people to share the stories, their tales that they've had about their journey with mental wellness, whether it be themselves, their family members, so that these stories can make a difference for others, eliminate the stigma that
Yes.
might exist for us to be able to share those things.
Actually, in 2022, 2023, I helped a physician in North Phoenix with the Forgotten Healthcare. So it was a documentary series about mental health, because many times, you have a physical ailment, you go to the doctors right away. You have mental ailment issue, you don't, sometimes you never seek help. And so, yes, the episode 1 was the stigma, going around, we went down Tempe Town Lake, it's just interviewing people on the street kind of about, certain phrases. Do you ever use any of these phrases? And, what is your thoughts on mental health and seeking help? And it is amazing, just.
Well, I'm curious. I know I'm you're the interviewer, but I'm curious, what did you discover was a theme that people had? Was there any that came out from that discussion?
Well, it was that we do use words very loosely. That so-and-so is crazy, the weather's bipolar. We almost desensitize the actual severity of conditions. That's what I kind of took from at least that one episode. Is that, we almost downgrade the severity of those issues, that when someone truly does have one of those issues, there is almost that fear of seeking out help. We use the words crazy so loosely.
For sure. Because who's going to want to raise their hand? Well, it's interesting because as a newer nonprofit, we are finding our own voice. And one of the things that we've said in the past is we've worked with marginalized communities. And so we've been looking at that like, well, who's going to want to raise their hand and say, hey, I am marginalized. I've been marginalized. So those words are so important because people identify with those.
Like, I'm so depressed. And it's like, but when you're really like the people who truly are going through it, and then you kind of just loft it, like when you're saying like I'm starving, like I'm even trying to tell my kids, you can't, no, you're not starving, like let's use the real definition. But that's the thing,
well, it depends how old they are. They might really be they're like 12, 13, that's
right. No, it's true, they are growing kids, but so it's just the way that in which we use the word. We don't think about how it could be potentially affecting someone actually going through that true definition of that word. But my most favorite episode of that series, real quick, if you want to hear about it, was the conversation between Eastern medicine and Western medicine, and that every individual is truly an individual. And so for some, we may want to consider pharmaceuticals, but for others, it is really spiritual mindset. Like, there's different ways of healing using the earth. So it's just that conversation and synergy that there isn't a one size fits all, and that we should consider all modalities depending on that individual person, not the condition.
Yes. And I love that. I think that I am completely in agreement that we are each our own fingerprint. Everybody is different. That's why some diets work for some people, other diets don't work for other people. And it's one of the reasons we actually, in our programming that we do, we take care of the whole person. We're not just looking at, let me teach you some skills on how to put words on paper and then how to stand up and deliver it. We're actually helping with doing visualization exercises and meditation exercises so that they can see themselves on the stage.
And is this for both programs?
For both programs, And
that's so powerful, because especially if they had a traumatic event they're working through.
Yes.
Those are tools that they're going to be able to use beyond that program.
That's the intention, because as it is, it can be a triggering event for people to stand up on a stage and deliver a message, whether it be a virtual stage or a live stage. So we want to get our bodies in a place where we are, one, used to standing on that stage, even though we may have never stood on that stage before. Because if you know about sports, a lot of sports figures are out there visualizing the movements that they do over and over again, because it tricks our bodies. It doesn't necessarily know when it's really happening or when we're just visualizing it. So if we can visualize ourselves delivering that talk over and over again, our bodies become ready, and it won't get hijacked when we stand on that stage, whatever stage we're on.
We'll be familiar. We'll go, oh, wait, we've been here. We've said this. We've done that. That person did cough and I didn't freak out. It was okay.
Exactly. So we want to make sure that we're taking care of the whole person when we go through a process like this, because to your point, there's whether you've gone through a big T trauma or not, it can be a challenging event for people to stand up and share your authentic truth with the world in that way. So we want to make sure that people are ready and capable of doing it. Breathing exercises, we've used essential oils. We've tried a variety of different things because we know that different things work for different people. Some of it works for some of it works for others.
Everyone is very different and unique.
Yes, indeed.
That is excellent. And so tell me a little bit about the brand choice of purple for your Amplified Voices. What made you choose purple?
Okay, well, the truth behind that one was when Amplify was in its very, very, very early stages. We had a conversation and we said, okay, what color are we going to be? And somebody said purple. They said it's royalty.
Yeah, royalty.
I don't know how royalty fits in necessarily with Amplify, but that was her color choice.
You never ignore royalty.
You never. Okay, I like that.
You never ignore royalty.
Yep. So that's where it started, as just somebody suggested it and we ran with it. And then over time, one of the things we moved into a branding, which it's more about growth. And so you'll see on our work a lot of green, purple, and acorns, because it's all about planting a seed for the future to be able to help grow. And each voice that is planted out there is helping to grow a forest that is going to make a difference out in the world. So that's really what our hope is one seed will lead to a tree, which will lead to a forest. And these voices collectively can really make the change that we want to make in the world.
Yeah, and I do feel like we need to encourage people to share their voice. I know we mentioned that it could be a secondary trauma going through it. However, that voice could be helping someone not go through that trauma. I've been so shocked to just learn from learning about your organization and other people I've met, like how much, human trafficking is an issue. I had no idea, and so without people sharing their experiences and their voice, those who could maybe help and make a difference or just be aware wouldn't even know. Yeah,
it's, and I fell in the same boat, actually. When this came about, my friend shared with me about her trauma, and the idea was planted to use this tool for others who had been impacted by sex trafficking and sexual assault. I was like, I didn't know actually what sex trafficking was at the time or even how to break into it. But people started to show up, and it was really in the middle of the program where I started to recognize, I'm like, this is happening in our own backyards, under our roofs, within just different organizations. It was mind blowing to see because I didn't know what it was. I always assumed it was happening overseas with a kid in a basement.
I kind of lumped it in with prostitution, sort of like, but it's totally different.
It's all of it. It's all of it. And so I didn't understand any of that when I first came into it. And so one of the interesting things was we had, what we're trying to accomplish is educate and inspire and transform. That's ultimately what we want to do. And so with these voices that people are sharing, if it can help other parents, our goal is if they hear these, they're going to go talk to their kids about this. And we had a situation where after this show, one of our participants was volunteer, was in this program and started to learn about sex trafficking and what this sex trafficking was all about. Because of it, she started to notice some signs of what was happening online with her sons and gaming. And when they looked into it, they ended up finding out that there was a gentleman on there that they were communicating with that was a pedophile. And he was arrested and that was handled. But that would have never have happened if she hadn't learned herself where this happens. How does this happen? And if we can be educated on it, we can be stronger in our own communities and taking care of each other in this process.
Knowledge is power. So we can't be afraid to share your knowledge and experiences so other people can learn from it.
Yeah.
It's so true. And you've heard so many tales, and I know we've had our private conversations that you're not the biggest reader, but you do have a partner who's a reader, so you can hear the tales.
Yeah.
So tell me, what's your favorite tale you've ever heard or even watched, if it's a movie, or read, that's either just really entertains you or that you really just, that's inspired you?
A tale that okay, yes, you know.
Yes.
All right, for those of you who don't know me, I don't do a lot of reading. That would not be my style. But
That's totally fine.
Stories. Okay, I'm gonna have to put some thought into this. I mean, I have some of my favorite talks, of course, of my speakers, because I get the blessing of listening to their most powerful lessons that they've learned in their lives. And I get to go, oh, maybe I could try that lesson on in my life and see how that works over here. Awesome. So it's really great. But my favorite tale, I'm a Shrek person. Shrek. I love Shrek. I just think that it's a beautiful love story.
Yes.
And it just always entertained me. I don't know what it is about Shrek specifically, but most of the kids' movies out there are the ones that call. No. Okay, no. Sorry. I did realize I do have.
Sorry, Shrek.
So Shrek is, I love Shrek. It's my favorite of the movies. Okay. But the one that was the most meaningful for me was Inside Out.
I have not seen that yet. I'm very aware of it. My kids aren't quite at that age level.
Okay.
But I'm aware of it. Yes.
Yeah, bar none. For me, it was a kids movie that literally transformed my life.
It's Pixar, so it's not a kids. It's an everybody.
It's movie. An everybody movie.
Pixar's are everybody movies.
True. This one though, for me, when I watched it, so I don't know if you know the premise, but
I know
it's
the plot because my son actually has like a Disney collective book. Okay. And so we read basically the synopsis, and that's where I was like, this is way above your age.
Okay.
You are not learning about running away. Like that is not an option.
We'll put that there aside.
Yeah, we'll wait a few more years for that. He's only turning 6. So.
That is so, okay. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. So, let me see. Oh my goodness, I had.
So spoiler alert. Sorry, she runs away. So complaining on it.
Well, it's so it has 5 main characters, and they're all emotions, right? Now, the reason this was so impactful for me, one of those emotions was joy, and joy is out there, and I'm like, that's me. I'm Joy, and joy is becoming obnoxious to me by the middle of the movie because joy was just joy. She had one speed. And I'm watching this, and there's this one scene where another emotion, sadness, is with a character that's disappearing and is being sad. And so sadness just sits and cries with the character, and then they're all fine afterwards. And joy is like, wait, what just happened here? How did this happen? How are you okay? And it was this little kid's movie, well, everybody's movie.
Yes.
That had me see that I had decided at some point in time in my life that I had one emotion that was an emotion I could live, and that was joy. That fear, anger, sadness, those were not emotions. Those weren't good emotions, so I wasn't supposed to live with those emotions. And so I literally, for most of my life, had tucked those aside. And it was after that movie that really allowed me to appreciate all of the emotions and experience sadness and the richness that comes from actually having that emotion. But before seeing that, I was kind of a 1-speed joy bus, and I'm like, come on, you can do it. And I'm so glad I'm not that anymore. I do have joy still in there, but everything I do is not driven by that because not everybody can handle that.
and it's probably not even internally that healthy for you to suppress any sadness or anger. There's a reason why we have all of those emotions. Yeah. And it's just about regulating the emotions and allowing yourself to, for my son, we're literally kind of going through that regulating emotions time. So it's like, okay, let's create a quiet space, or what you need to calm down. Let's just go in your room into your quiet space. Yeah. Just calm down and be in those feelings, not to suppress them or say you're not allowed to be sad or you're not allowed to be bad. It's just like, let's just be in it and calm down a little, and then when you're ready to talk, because most of the time toddlers, they can't talk when they're seeing red, so then it's like, once you're not seeing red, then we can talk. Have you seen the second one then? Because there's an Inside Out 2.
I have.
Oh, okay.
And it was not as impactful for me. I learned the lesson that I needed to learn. This one was cute, I guess, at this point in time.
Maybe a little more of a money grab. It was so successful the first one.
Yeah, although Shrek, I will say, I didn't want to watch Shrek 2 because I was so afraid that it would diminish my Shrek 1 experience. Right. But it did not. It held up. It was great. Shrek 2 was equally as good. But yeah, Inside Out 2, no, not so much for me.
Okay. Sometimes it's hard to do a sequel. Like, I know, I feel like the Toy Story series, like there's Toy Story, then Toy Story 2, and then like Toy Story 3 and 4 really just.
Yeah, it's just a tack on at the end at that point in time. But yeah, I would say Shrek, they knew how to do the sequel for that one. Inside Out, not so much so.
Okay. I think my humble introduce anxiety though, so that's another emotion that I think more so people have been, it feels like more people, or maybe we're just more talking about anxiety than ever before, which if it's just talking, that's great that we are amplifying those voices of people who are experiencing that.
Yes, I will say though, we are probably talking more about anxiety, and there is a way to speak about it that can actually move things forward. So I think I would suggest with people to always ask the question, am I moving something forward with what I'm saying, what I'm putting out into the world? Now, sometimes it's a complaint, and sometimes we need to complain, and we find the people that we can go to so we can get that out. But we don't want to walk around the world that way. We want to actually have some power there. So when we speak about it.
So you're saying consider what you post on social media. Perhaps.
Yeah, well, because that's a really big part of the process of learning how to speak and use your voice is how do you use it in such a way that it actually lifts people up? Right now, it's really easy for people to point fingers and place blame out in society, and that's never going to move us anywhere. That's going to keep us firmly stuck exactly where we are right now. So what I feel like we need to do is to be able to open it up and be able to say, not diminish anyone. How do we lift people up with our voices? And if we're talking about anxiety, are we talking about it in such a way that it's educating people so that they can step into a new view of it? Or are we just keeping anxiety in place for people and having that stay there? We don't want that. We want to have this be a lesson that we're using our voice to help people move through it, whatever that might be.
Be a resource rather than just an issue.
Adding more to the sound and the noise.
And with social media, it kind of reminds me. So when I first started our business, we also started as Melaleuca representatives. We're still Melaleuca customers, love being Melaleuca customers. But, first year in business, sometimes it's a little tricky. You're making sure you can make some money and, eat more than just ramen. And so I was like, okay, what can I do to learn how to also promote Melaleuca? Because I love the products. And one of the training materials was like, do not share on social media, like, buy Melaleuca. They're like, unless you would go into a random restaurant, stand on a table and say those same things, you don't put that on social media.
So great.
And I was like, that is just such a good tip to hold on for everything. Is that, unless you're willing, because when you think about social media, how well do you really, really, really know everyone nowadays? You know, at the beginning, sure, a friend was a true friend. Now it's like an acquaintance.
Yeah.
So unless you're willing to go into that room of acquaintances and stand on a table, so it better be impactful. It better be actually something that whole room, you'll go, oh, that person on that table has something good to say.
That's right.
Captain, my captain. All right.
That was probably one of my favorite movies ever. Dead Poets Society with Robin Williams. Yep. I still have the DVR, not whatever it is. It's the VHS tape. I don't have a VHS player, but I will not let go of. Oh, good. Now I know where I can play.
Come on over. Yeah, come on over. Because I still have so many original Disney movies, and sure, there's the Disney Plus that we can get, but I'm like, I have these original Disney movies, and so with the VHS player, we can pop it in. They can see the good old school tracking, trying to get it all clear.
So funny. Oh my gosh. Dead Poets Society. Such a great film. Talk about people finding their true voice and being willing to express it.
I was in 7th grade. I think going into 7th grade. So I'm like that 12-year-old. It couldn't have came at a perfect time for me. Like, it was just so impactful. Made me buy a Walt Whitman book.
Great poetry.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's so fun.
So that's a top 5 for me, for sure, when it comes to movies. It's Dead Poet Society.
The fact that I knew the reference is just I don't.
Yes.
I don't usually pick up on those things, but since it was one of my tops.
Yes, that one sticks with you.
Yeah.
And so I know you're not the biggest reader. However, if you were to write a book, what would be the title of that tale?
Well, I did have an idea about it is who gives a shit about Deb Shapiro? Because the truth is nobody's. I've been in this industry for a while, and people don't necessarily care about the people themselves, but like, what's the message behind what they have to say? And for me,
it's so catchy. Yeah.
For me, I mean, it's miracles do really happen because I feel as if the journey that my life has been on has been one miracle after the other. And I just feel so blessed to be where I am today with everything that's happened. So.
See, that'd be the subtitle. So you have that key title, and then it's
who gives a shit about you?
Yeah, miracles happen every day. Find your voice. It's not all about you.
That's like Perfect. Well, excellent. Even though I don't read books, I might just have to write one now that we have the idea.
Write one. And on a recent episode, we had a publisher on. So there you go. I can get you together. They were ghost writing. You literally would just have to talk and tell them what to put in there.
Oh my gosh. And I have a friend who actually just published a book all done via AI, gives credit to the AI. So, hey, there are all sorts of ways we can get our voices out there. And so really, I mean that in all seriousness, it's, I've been in the speaking world. I am here about using this voice as an instrument of change, but our tale, our story can make such a huge difference for people, whether it be are done artistically, whether it be expressed through a book, the written word, whether it be expressed through our voice. It can be done music. There's so many different ways to be able to do it. And I just encourage people to find their voice, whatever that voice might be for them, and get it out there because it makes a difference. And that's what we need right now in our society today.
And the medium doesn't have to be one-dimensional. Like, just because you are an excellent speaker and can speak on stage does not mean that you could partner with someone or a tech AI and make it a book too, you know, and then vice versa. These books, how many books have been adapted into movies? And so sometimes it's also being creative and thinking, how are the different ways you can share your tale and your message? Because there's always different learners. There's different ways that people like to receive information. And sometimes people need to receive it a couple of different ways and maybe in a couple of different times. And then that right time and the right medium will just make that click in the brain of what to do. Yeah,
the messages that most people are bringing forward are messages that have been through the ages. We've heard them from scholars from years and years, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Yet we keep discovering it for ourselves. And it's when we discover it for ourselves that it gets juicy and we can give it away to other people. So it's not like it's something new, but it's new to us. Yeah. And as new people come into the world, they're going to continue to need to have these kinds of lessons and learning. So,
and have those modern connections. Like, we don't really have the deepest connection with, the fall of Rome and Julius Caesar, although there's a lot of parallels when it comes to history, when you look at history and things.
Yes, there is.
It doesn't necessarily mean that the spoken word of Julius Caesar is going to resonate with me right now, but the messages behind what they were saying sometimes, can coincide. But I totally agree that there always needs to be that modern touch, that modern name, and really that storytelling.
Yeah.
Because people connect with other people and people from all different walks of life can then identify and, connect more with someone who's maybe more like them.
Yeah.
And so even if this person and this person are sharing a similar message, if they come from different backgrounds and are different people are going to connect with it.
That's it. It is, I like to think of it as a kaleidoscope of voices. It's not just one, but we want to bring them all together so that people can see a different patchwork of different ideas that they can generate. Because most of the themes that people are speaking about are very similar. We're human beings and we have more similarities than differences. That's my belief. We tend to look at the differences, but if we start to focus more on those similarities, I think we would find them, and that's where we'll come together.
Exactly. Look at that Venn diagram. See
That's
how
right.
much
Where's
is in
that
the middle. Yes, lovely. So this has been such a pleasure. How can people stay connected with both DEBx and Amplify Voices if they wanted to be a part of the program or if they just wanted to support?
Sure. So you can check out all of our previous DEBx speakers at debxtalks.com. If you would like to learn more about Amplify Voices, our nonprofit, you can go to amplifyvoices.org.
Excellent. We'll make sure to put all those links at the taleswithtaylor.com page for your episode. And as we just kind of come to a close here, if you were just to leave one insightful message or just one tip for anyone out there who's debating, should I really get on stage or should I really tell my story? What would be that message to them?
Don't silence your voice. You have something important to say. Trust that and really start to look at who am I that I want to bring out into the world, because your voice matters.
Excellent. Your voice matters. Remember that. And I always say it's not real unless it's written down. So just start writing down your ideas and then maybe attend a DEBx transformational experience to get on a gorgeous stage and share your story with more.
Be great.
Excellent. Thank you so much again for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching Tales with Taylor. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the Financial Potion YouTube channel to never miss an episode.